Hey everybody, this is Doug Kenny from Relentless and Unstoppable, and today we have Zach Tidwell with us. How you doing?
I'm really good, man. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. I'm glad to have you on. So, where are you at the moment?
I live in the Denver burbs. What about you?
I live in Phoenix in Arizona.
Okay, nice.
I'm originally from Estes Park, Colorado.
Okay. Yeah, I've been out here for, gosh, I guess six, almost coming up on 7 years now. I've been out here since I got out of the Marines. So it's my favorite place that I've ever lived.
Nice, nice. It's a very good place, up in Colorado and all that, but the winters, they can get to you sometimes.
Yep.
So, Zach, where are you originally from?
I grew up all over the place because my dad was in the military as well. So we moved kind of every between like every 2 and 4 years growing up, we were somewhere new, but I, when I finished high school, I enlisted in the Marines and kind of continued to move around. But like I said, I've settled out here since about 2018 after I got out.
What was joining the Marines like?
Always knew that I wanted to go into the military, so it was something I'd been mentally at least aware of my entire life, but I didn't decide that I was going to do the Marines until I was in high school because that's when I decided I wanted to be an infantryman, and the Marine Corps is the deadliest conventional fighting force on Earth, and I wanted to be a part of that. So it was a really awesome and wild time, and kind of crazy to think of some of the stuff that I got to do. I was a machine gunner, so as an 18-year-old was, I mean, playing with toys that every boy dreams about growing up, and wound up in a combined anti-armor team. So it was all heavy machine guns and anti-tank missilemen. So it was kind of a pretty wild 4 years. I deployed twice and thankfully didn't see combat, but got to do a little bit of everything in a pretty short amount of time.
Got it. Got it. So, what was your memories? What was your best memory in the Marine?
Oh gosh. I don't think I've ever been asked that. I I was the camaraderie is probably just the best part. I wouldn't say there's a single memory, especially life in the infantry is it's a rugged life, but the connections and I'm still in touch with the guys that were in my platoon and will probably be in contact with at least some of those guys for the rest of my life. It's just very formative years, especially because of the age that I was, but just, I mean, it shaped me into from a young man into a man, and is the things that I learned and developed during my time in the Marines really shaped who I would become.
Got it. Did you serve just in the Marines in America or did you travel abroad?
Well, that's I said I deployed twice. So deployments, you go out of the country. Both of my deployments were into the Pacific, so I wound up in Japan and Australia during my deployments. Some of that time was spent on ship floating around the Pacific, which was miserable. The ship is miserable. I don't know how sailors do it, but yeah. But I was stationed in Southern California, so out of the 4 years that I was in, I think I was deployed for a total of about 13 months.
So, what did you begin doing after the Marine Corps career ended?
Right after I got out, I returned because I had actually finished high school in Colorado. So I lived here for my junior and senior year of high school. But I came back here because I'd fallen in love with snowboarding and started going to college. I really wanted to be an ER nurse. I had just it's the complete opposite direction from being a machine gunner, but it was something that called to me and that really resonated with me. So that's what I started going to school for, and that was in August of 2018, and I continued in college for because to take a step back, because we kind of skimmed over some stuff here. While I was on my second deployment, because I was married at the time, I had found out that my wife was having an affair with someone else. That didn't obviously sit awesome with me, but I came back and tried to make things work with her, and it didn't. So that was late 2017, early 2018. I finally separated, and then I was in a really nasty motorcycle accident in March of 2018 and had a nasty concussion from it that really kind of changed everything for me. I became very agitated and very impulsive and started to really struggle with depression, which I had never felt before in my life. I went from not being in a good spot to being actually depressed, and I developed a drinking problem. But so I was honorably discharged in August of that year and then was going to college and through the end of the year, but things were progressively getting worse that entire time. I was getting into a worse and worse spot. I was drinking more and more and I wasn't talking about anything, but that carried me through the end of 2018 and all the way into the beginning of 2019. By the time that March rolled around, I had decided that I didn't want to be here anymore. I just because I wasn't speaking up, I and pulling away from people that I enjoyed and things that I enjoyed and just progressively worked into this worse and worse spot and thought that it was inescapable and wound up on March 27th of 2019. I had held my gun to my head for the first time and realized that that would be my escape. And 4 days later, I shot myself in between the eyes.
Holy cow. How did you survive that?
I say I'm a bad shot, which is I got lucky because I shot myself exactly where we are trained to kill people. I mean, that is the idea is that if you shoot yourself in that spot, when we were trained to shoot for headshots, there's a little T box that's between your eyebrows and the upper bridge of your nose that
Holy cow.
the bullet is supposed to go back and hit your medulla oblongata, which regulates, it's a part of the brain that regulates all of your autonomous functions. So your breathing and your heart and all that stuff. And it's supposed to just be an off button. So naturally, that was what I had it was intending for. But I think what saved me was it was my concealed carry firearm. And I don't know how familiar you are with guns or ammunition, but I had hollow points in there, and hollow points are meant to hit a body and break up inside them and just really cause havoc, as opposed to a traditional ball round is what you see that'll hit something and kind of mushroom, where like the back end of it kind of mushrooms up around the front end. And
Yeah.
the because the structure of your sinus is actually a pretty big couple compartments of bone that sit right back behind where I shot myself. And I think when the bullet hit the sinuses and punched through my forehead, that it broke up because it rode around. So everything that I'm touching here, I'm touching the edge of a plate that goes all the way between my left eye. They rebuilt my sinuses, and then my whole right eye socket is a metal plate now because all that bone was gone. So think the round just broke up and a lot of it left my face with along with that bone and some of it remained inside my skull, but it rode around the inside of my skull. None of it actually entered my brain. So I'm totally blind now and I'm deaf in one ear and the reason I'm deaf in that ear is because there's bullet fragments in my inner ear on that side inside of my skull. But somehow none of it actually went into the meat of my brain. Just wildly lucky.
Yeah, very lucky. I've heard of those hollow point bullets before because that's what was used in John Lennon when he was murdered, and he lost almost all of his blood through it, which was what the fatality was in his murder.
Mm. Yeah, I didn't know that about him.
Yeah. Is there a reason why the bullet fragments in your ear weren't taken out? Was it because the ear wasn't going to work again either way, or was it just because it was too dangerous?